What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a best of 3 with me running Enel and this other person running Arlong. So this was a really fun game. This isn't by any means supposed to be like this is why Enel is top tier or anything like that. This is very much so just like casual testing that I was doing, and going into this I thought this match was just going to be a one of, and I was going to throw it into the compilation that, you know, went up yesterday, but we ended up going best of 3. He takes the first one, I take the next 2. So sorry, a little bit of spoilers, but again, this is just supposed to be a casual fun game, but I did think it was worth going through, so we'll go ahead and get it going here. Just doing this how I can. So we see the pudding on the first hand with plenty of counters. We have the cracker for our second turn, so honestly this hand was fine. We have the arrow event, and we have the Struce and 2K. So all in all, like, pretty solid first hand. This happened after a good bit of testing, like a good bit of games. This was actually the last game of the night, so it was kind of late. But of course they're playing Arlong, so you can, I believe it's attach 1 and then tap like 2 and play something with the trigger out of hand. We used the pudding to search, and we just pulled a Thunderbolt because that was the only target we ended up hitting. And we did draw the like 200 million volts or whatever the event is for Enel, Sky Gods, Sky Island type. I'm still like familiarizing myself with these cards. Like, I know what they do, just the names off the top of the head don't always work out. Sorry, brain fart. So anyways, we didn't have anything else to do with the other Dawn since we couldn't swing, so we do have one up. If we wanted to, we could El Thor, but it would only be 2K because it's like a reverse radical beam. So instead of your life having to be at 2 to get the extra 2K, your opponent's life has to be at 2 or less. So they're going to swing 7, but with an L, like, you really aren't worried about losing your life, especially playing essentially a huge Big Mom package like I am in this deck, because you just, as long as you're at 1 life, whenever you hit it, you discard a card and then you replace that life. So it makes it a little bit tough for people to actually finish out a game on you. I've definitely made the mistake of like getting rid of my last life and not thinking about that, or not having a card in hand to discard for the effect. But we did get the smoothie off a trigger, and then we I believe we swung 7K there, getting a life off hand, which gave us our Katakuri. And we're just gonna go ahead and take some life here. So, you know, pretty evened out. They're playing a pretty Big Mom package themselves, which, I mean, is usually what you're going to see with Arlong. Sometimes you see the East Blue stuff in there, but honestly, Arlong's ability is just better matched up with a lot of the yellow Big Mom stuff from OP03. Now that I think about it, I don't think there was much of 04 or 05 in this person's build. Well, there's 04 Sanji, so yeah, Sanji obviously staple for yellow. So the match was quick to correct me there. So we do get rid of one of the El Thors to place the blocker down. In my opinion, a blocker, as long as they don't have the removal, which I didn't think they would, outside of like adding it to my life, which we're not going to complain about with like an 8-drop Katakuri, but we're a little ways off from that being a possibility. The El Thor doesn't get full value, so tossing it was fine. I could have done the arrow, to be honest with you. Either one would have been fine. Honestly, now I'm thinking about it, no, the arrow would have been the better target to pitch there, because it just reduces a character by 3K. But I think right here we're just wanting to try and keep the smoothie on board, so we have bodies and we don't have to use our blocker to swing. We're on 6, and I think I'm just deciding what to do here. I think I'm trying to decide if I want to establish another blocker or if I want to go ahead and get the cracker down. I think this game I wasn't utilizing Cracker quite the way that I should have. And I fixed that in the games moving forward, utilizing that double swing with Cracker, since you're not really afraid to go low on life with Enel. So we don't use the effect there so that we don't run out of life, so we can still keep Enel's ability active if we are to lose that last life, which honestly, you usually take it and use Enel's ability, because especially if you're playing a ton of triggers, you're going to trigger something off of life more than likely and replace it. So and then you can filter out a dead card in hand, so it's a lot of cycling, and it's super beneficial. We did swing with the Sanji there, just because we do have 2 blockers, and I'm not too worried about things at the moment. So I'm going to grant them a life, because we don't obviously want to lose our last life. And so they have a pretty big board established here, and no, this isn't the turn, it's the next turn. I think they just swing 5 with Parasparrow here. Yeah, they're trying to get rid of the smoothie. I counter out because the smoothie's already on board, so there's no point in losing it and then establishing the Cracker at this point. It was my thought process, I think, but honestly, I think maybe I should have let the smoothie go. My whole thing here is I want to keep the smoothie, but I think keeping the Cracker there would have maybe been smarter, but I also don't know if I'm going to live another turn, so having to play 4 Dawn to get a Cracker out didn't seem like the best move. I think my thought process here was to maybe try to go for lethal, because knowing that I'm probably not going to survive another turn, which is why I took the life there. Or it might have just been a misplay. Oh, no. So my thought process there was to swing big with Smoothie to try to either get cards out of hand or get a life, so I could replace one, either Smoothie or Sanji. I think I decided last minute to do Sanji, just so I can activate the trigger, since I have the Parasparrow in hand that's pretty much dead. It has no counter. So knowing that I was going to replace that life, I was able to buff my Smoothie by 2k and get something into hand, while also facilitating knowing what my next life is and adding that protection. So now not only do they have to swing on Enel one time, I take the life, pop the trigger, get a blocker, and then I'll get another life, and then they'll have to swing again after that. So that's 4 out of their 5 swings on board right now, assuming that they use the pudding. And we also have a 2k in hand, and there's no telling what the other life would be. So they're going to do that. We're going to 2k out of that, because we have a guaranteed counter out of that swing. This swing we take, but this is where I realize that I shouldn't have countered out, because now I have nothing to trash to play the Sanji for its trigger ability. So that was the yeah, I didn't think that one completely through. So we do counter out with the Sanji at least. Still facilitates kind of the same concept. And then if I remember correctly here, they're going to swing with the Sanji, and we hit another Sanji with nothing to throw out. And I think you can't really see it underneath my webcam. We do some chatting throughout the match, because I'm asking them why they didn't just stack up on pudding and swing, and they tell me that they just didn't think about the fact that they had pudding on board. So just a reminder to be aware of what your board state is and what your options are, because they could have swung with pudding right there and ended out the game. But with us being at no life, it looks like we have no way to recover the life. We don't have another Katakuri in hand to play or anything like that. Pretty much we try to go for lethal this turn, and if we don't get it, then it's going to be GG's. There's really nothing to it. So I figured if they have a 2, like, they have to take that. That's my whole thought process at the moment, is they only have 1 card in hand. At the most, it's a 2k counter because they have no Dawn active. So if I can clear some of their board, maybe I survive with a Sanji blocker. So swing magic numbers to make sure things get off board. I can't go for lethal just because I know they're about to hit the Sanji. And then they're going to trigger it. So now they have a blocker. They discard Sanji for Sanji. We do have 1 blocker, but that's GG's. There's no way for me to get out of this unless they just absolutely play wrong. But the only card we knowing that the only card I have in hand is Thunderbolt, it's like there's just no shot. You have an 8k swing, 2 5ks, and whatever you want to make pudding. I mean, obviously you can Dawn up the Arlong or the Sanji and do whatever, but I mean, anyone who's familiar enough with this game can look at this board state and know that unless they try to hyper focus my board for some reason, which at this late in the game there's no reason to do that. So you may see a little bit of text like right underneath me. We're just kind of discussing the fact that, like, at this point in the game, like, I have that 1 blocker, and yeah, that's just GG's. We GG, and then he asked me for rematch, so I'm like, yeah, sure, like, why not? Because I knew there was like a few things I did in that game that could have been done a little bit different and probably facilitated things a little bit better. And so we're gonna keep, because we have a lot of like early game plays and we have the searcher to facilitate getting things to hand. So pretty much if you have pudding and something to play up on like turn 2, you're pretty good, especially with us going second. We can play a blocker Sanji, no problem, or we could the beige is just gonna be a 2k counter. Like, you're not gonna play beige out. You really want to see beige off life, but you know, we can't always get what we want. The optimal plays don't just always happen. Sorry, he was in the chat, he was asking me what my YouTube was and stuff, and so that's why it took a minute for us to get things rolling there. But we are going, we get the search. Again, we pull the Thunderbolt off the top, and well, not off the top, but out of the search, and they're going to swing 7 and play the Smoothie out on turn 2. We do get this, and we choose not to use the trigger just because it's so early on. But I wasn't familiar with the trigger for that card, so it's like Sovereignty in the Arrow event from the starter deck, where essentially like you trash 2 cards from your hand and you can add a life from the top of your deck. So they're going to take the swing, they're going to play the Smoothie, discarding the Arrow. So they have 2 smoothies on board, but you know, swinging with their ability is going to really put you down in life, and with Arlong, it's not exactly what you want to see happen. We do Thunderbolt one of them just to remove it. We're going to swing 5. Oh wait, no, we didn't Thunderbolt it. We that 200 million volts Amaru to buff the pudding is what just happened. I think I just wanted to go a little bit more aggro is what was going on there. And because last game, that was the issue, is I took a lot of life, and then they were able to stay at a high life total, and that kind of put me between a rock and a hard place. So we see the 2 million volts again. So we're gonna Enel and throw the 2k, and then we're gonna throw one of our blockers and another 2k as well. because we have the blocker Sanji in hand, and I really want to be able to play this 7-drop Enel at the right time because he has rush, and then he also can't be removed from the field as long as Luffy doesn't get played. Like as you saw, if you watched the video yesterday, when I was playing the purple red Luffy character or leader, they, because their leader is Monkey D. Luffy, or no, not because the leader is, they ended up playing the secret rare Gear 5 Luffy, and it made Enel, you know, essentially his ability can't pop off at that point. So we do trash a life here instead of giving them a life off the 7-drop mom, and they're gonna swing 5. And I think I'm just like debating here, like, do I want to have to trash? And it's like, yeah, because if I'm gonna counter out, I'm trashing, I might as well cycle while I'm having to throw a card out of hand. We do end up getting another 7-drop, which is fine. It's discard fodder, and then we draw another pudding. So if we want to search, we can search. I'm debating on how to swing with the cracker because we are lower life. So if we swing with enough, we know they can't counter out of it, and then they're going to have to take 2 life regardless. And while it does fill up their hand, and they are playing yellow with triggers, it's like, if I can get them down, then we can move forward from there. We're going to poke 5, try to bait out the blocker without using up all of our resources here, because if they don't block, they give us a card, that's fine. We can throw the other 3 on pudding and facilitated swing, giving a little bit more value out of pudding other than just sitting on the board after the initial search effect. And from here, they're either going to give us a card, take a life, or they're going to go ahead and use that blocker, which honestly, using the blocker is what we kind of wanted to see because it's going to be a pain to deal with later. I'm not sure what was going on there, and they even say it in the chat. They're like, what did I just do? I don't. And it's like, it happens. It's a misplay. Though, I mean, that's a pretty big misplay to go in for a block, and then I think maybe they weren't thinking about the fact that I was swinging with 5. So they thought maybe they could like 2k out of the 2k attack, you know, since Brule is 1k. But anyways, it happened. We moved on. That was a 2k out of their hand that could have, you know, possibly been the difference in the game. But that's why you have to be very aware of what you're doing as you're doing it. Yeah, super important. We do see another cracker, so we're gonna toss one of the Enels, and then we're gonna toss our blocker. I think my thought process there was Katakuri can help facilitate reviving a life essentially if we need it, but the Enel can help close out with 7. But having the cracker on board again means we can push for another 2k, or not 2k, another double attack swing. Especially with them only having 2 cards in hand, we don't have to swing 11 this time. We can swing 9, get both their life gone, and then I have 7 left with a swing from leader still as well. So I think the move here is swing with leader. Oh, no. I could just close out the game. They didn't have enough cards in hand to counter a 12k swing. So I ask him here, or them, if they want to go best of 3. And they say, yeah, let's run it. So this is probably the least optimal hand we've seen so far. There's nothing we can do whether we go first or second. And we have 3 copies of the 2 million volts event. So we definitely have cards we can discard and things like that. We do have 2 blockers, which both of which we don't want to have to hard play, but they are there if we need to. So they're going to go ahead and get a Pair of Sparrow out turn 2, which sucks. But we're going to get our cracker established. And as we saw last game, cracker kind of can really swing the game in our favor. So a little bit of stalling. It's just us in the chat, me making sure they were okay with me using the footage for a video and things like that. You don't really need the consent for, you know, games like this, but still I'd prefer to ask, especially with like some of the misplays and stuff that have happened. Might as well go ahead and just make sure they're cool with it. We do utilize the event there to get an extra 3k bonus before slapping on and making sure that we can land the double attack. And then the 2 blockers we started out with hand that we didn't want to hard play, they end up hitting out of life. So this is going to be real fun to get around 2 blockers. And then Perospero is one of those things that it's kind of like Magellan or any of these cards with KO effects. It's like you have to make that decision. Do you want to rip that band-aid off and just be done with it, or do you want to let it sit on the board and then have to deal with like countering out of it and stuff? And most of the time I'll just go ahead and rip the band-aid off. But we do hit Smoothie out of life and toss the Brulee. Getting that body on board I felt was more efficient than having to play 3 Dawn for a blocker, especially when we already have a Sanji blocker, which is much easier to defend and keep on the board. So we are going to swing 7. We hit the Thunderbolt out of life, but because we took it ourselves, the trigger doesn't apply. And yeah, we wanted to force out one of the blockers. And then we used the 2 million volts to go ahead and buff up our leader because we tapped their blocker with the event. And then we're just going to play our own blocker down to kind of, you know, slow them from being able to hit us. Even though at this point, I think the game plan is to take the first hit, toss a card, replace life, and then block. Because we do have the Sovereignty, and the Sovereignty is something that just didn't really help. I think it's a card that I will cut from the build I'm using. Just like, it's cool to see off life and stuff. This was really cool. We actually hit the beige off of life, so we're going to freeze out their Arlong because they can't get the full advantage out of Cracker while they can still swing big with Cracker. I don't have 2 life, so you don't get the double attack. But also, at this point, I can just block. But, yeah, we let them take Smoothie. Not sure what my thought process was there. Maybe just the fact that they only have 2 life. We're kind of put into a very defensive position here. But if I remember correctly, we're going to swing with Enel and try to get rid of this Cracker, just to kind of get one of the bodies off board. Because if we can get their bodies off board and then move into getting cards out of their hand, then we're doing pretty good. Again, just going to swing on the Cracker. They let it go. And they also tossed, I believe, a Cracker for their counter a second ago. And then we're going to swing with the blocker just because they only have 2 swings. And we know we have 2 2Ks in hand, so we can survive. But they do get the Hotchon off a trigger, which was interesting. So I'm a little bit worried at this point. It's like, why did I swing with my blocker? But I still am pretty confident because I know I can probably counter out of at least 1, if not 2 swings. And at that point, you know, we're good. Because they have 3 swings. So if they do their Dawn allocation correctly, they could potentially go lethal here. But they're going to swing on my Enel. And then this is where you have to be mindful of like Enel's ability. Because if I use the card action, then I'm using my leader ability, which means if they swing twice where I can't counter out. But now that I'm thinking about it, if they would have swung 7. Okay, they're going to go on my Sanji. I think at this point I'm debating on whether or not to save Sanji, and I do, because that means I have 2 swings on board. But I didn't think they were going to swing with the Hotchon. And then we get the Katakuri, but like right here, the Katakuri just doesn't do much for us. So But we are going to put the Parasparrow back on to the bottom of their life, which gives them a dead card for no counter, and try to clear their board. We have, obviously, defensive. We have the Sovereignty. I wasn't thinking about the fact that I have to discard for Enel's ability, but if the card we hit off life is dead for some reason, we do still have the Sovereignty to back us up again, because we can, if we hit a dead card, then we just discard that dead card, replace it on life, take the other hit to life, and then use the Sovereignty. But they do hit us with the 10-drop Dofi. This was not something I expected. After 2 games, I had not seen this 10-drop Dofi. We do see the Sovereignty off of life, but I don't have the cards to use its trigger ability, which would have put us at 2 life. No, it wouldn't have, because I wouldn't have had the cards, so it was kind of irrelevant anyways. But we do draw a blocker, which is huge for us. But I am going to go ahead and try to swing enough to get one of those lives, which we do, no problem. I probably didn't have to go that big, but it is what it is. We play our blocker down, and then I want to say they end up 10 dropping us again, and it hurts, but I could be wrong. Like I said, it was super late whenever we were playing this game, and at this point we're at game 3. I'm just trying to say, like, especially like given my game state. I have an 8K body that I need to keep on board, but I only have 1 defensive, like, event, but I can't give up that event if I want to stay in the game, because I need a card to discard for life. So at this point it's kind of like, do we block the 5K swing? Do we take the 5K swing? But we do take it. We debate on using the trigger there, but we do toss it because it's only a 1K counter, and having the 5K counter off of Sovereignty is a lot better. And then they're going to swing 5, and I believe we're going to take this. And we get the El Thor, which is a 4K counter, but we can't use both. And I mean, they should have game here, in theory, but it really comes down to Dawn allocation. But I mean, really and truly, you swing 10 with the Dofi, and then, you know, you have to bait the block. I know they're not aware of what's in my hand, but you have to bait the block out and then swing, you know, with whatever you have left, and know that they're not going to be able to counter out of that. And so this is where the mistake happens. They swing 7, and El Thor is going to be 4K, which leaves another one up, so I can bluff that I have another counter in hand. But it doesn't matter because I still have the blocker on the board. I could have sworn they 10 dropped us again, but they didn't. And then we draw into another blocker. So this was pretty crazy, but because they didn't swing super wide, we're pretty much in a position where, even though they have like 6 Dawn up, they could be bluffing stuff, and it's like, I have to just go for it. There's no way I live, because I don't have life anymore, and I have no way to replenish it. So we're just gonna go super wide and not even worry about leaving anything up, and just, you know, go with $1 in a dream. So that was the best of 3. We ended up chatting a little bit afterwards, not too much, but yeah. So super fun game. Enel is a super fun leader. Obviously I tried Sakazuki out, and I played against Enel, and I've actually learned that Sakazuki is a pretty tough matchup for Enel to begin with. So yeah, it made me not feel so great about going in kind of blind with Sakazuki and winning that match, but it is what it is. We take dubs when we can take them. Currently I'm testing out some Bello Betty builds, and then I'll probably move on to Sabo next. I've tested a lot of stuff with OP04, and I will do some more matches and some more testing with different decks, different builds, and stuff like that. But just OP05 has so many interesting things going on with it, and whenever I got into this game, it was like mid 02, so I was already testing a lot of 03 stuff, and then I had already tested 04 stuff as it came out in Japan. So that's the reason I'm like kind of ahead on things that I'm testing out. It's just me having fun and running testing. So I'll do hopefully some more competitive and more insightful discussion videos and things of that nature soon. But with that being said, if you're looking forward to any of that and you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and hit the like button. And while you're down there, if you're not already subscribed, you might as well subscribe. And then if you change your mind later, you can click that button again and unsubscribe. It really doesn't matter. I do appreciate all the love that's been shown here lately. And just let me know down in the comments, you know, what leaders are you testing, what leaders are you looking forward to, and what other content do you want to see me put out. Are there other formats of content you want to see on the channel, things like that. So till the next one, I'll see you out there on the open seas. Later, pirates.